Hello, 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 everybody, and thank you for tuning in. For those of you that don't know, my name is April Rozier, and I am just a single mom putting out value, trying to help the world, and rooting for the underdogs and all the single mothers out there, and doing my thing. So, as you can see from the title of this video, we are talking about kids and dieting. Let me tell you 5 reasons that I believe, and it's just me, it's my opinion, but 5 reasons that I believe you should not put your children on a diet, especially your young ones. So, let's go. Alright, so for a few things maybe you don't know, maybe you don't have kids. Maybe, hey, Ruby, how are you? Thanks for hopping on. So maybe you don't have kids. Maybe you don't follow the news. Maybe you don't know anything about anything. Well, there is a new app out for kids, and it is targeted more, the selling points on it are more about teaching children nutrition and teaching them education. Now, let me say this before anything else gets said and anybody tries to pick a debate over this. I believe in food education. I believe in explaining the benefits of food, what foods are good for you, why they're good for you, what foods are not as good, and why they're not as good. But I don't at all believe in, even saying the word diet to a child, because I don't believe in causing body images issues for children. But that is my personal opinion, and we're not here to talk opinions. So over the past few years, nutrition research has actually proven that diets don't work anyway, not for the long term. They might work for the short term, and you might be able to, for the short term, you might be able to get away with it. You know what I'm saying? Like, even adults have learned, even over time, that they can go on a diet and then suddenly they don't seem to lose the weight. Well, or keep it off anyway. Why is that? Because diets don't work. Diets do not work unless you're going to stay on it permanently. And that's not a diet. That is a lifestyle change. That is totally different. There's a huge difference between a lifestyle change and a diet. So diets don't actually work unless you're doing it long term. And who diets forever? Eventually, you go back to the way you ate before. Most people, they lose the weight and then they end up gaining the majority of it back. That's not going to be any different for your children. You put your child on a diet, unless you do a lifestyle change, making a change in habits of what they're eating and stuff like that, unless you do those things, then it's not going to change anything at all. So, I have to say, I personally I just don't believe in putting children on diets because they don't work. Scientists have proven it does not work. Not in the long term. You have to actually go out there and make a lifestyle change, and that is not the same thing as a diet. It's not. So, let's get into a few other reasons why you shouldn't put your kids on a diet. Now, like I said, please don't get me wrong, because nutrition education, that is something I'm huge on. Like, I've always taught my daughter about good foods, bad foods, good fats, bad fats, sugar, stuff like that. I've educated myself on it, and I've educated her on it. I'm not even gonna lie, I've always been weight conscious, always. So I'm real careful about what I say around my daughter because I don't want her to know that. Like, I don't want her to know that I struggle with body image. I don't want her to know those things because it has taken me quite a while to get to the point where I understand that you don't have to be stick skinny to be beautiful. You know, it's taken me a long time to get comfortable with these things. And I don't want to let that rub off on my kids. So I don't speak weight in front of my kid ever. Even like if we're at a doctor's appointment and they want to speak her weight, or my doctor and me are speaking my weight, or any issues like that, I have her step out of the room. Like, that is not a conversation I want to have with her. I don't want her to struggle with body image the way I did, or the way I still do. It's still a struggle for everybody. For so many women, we struggle with weight, and unfortunately, we push that onto our children, and we teach our children about body image. So I don't want to teach my kid that. So I believe in, and I fully support anything that teaches your kid about nutrition, but not diets. There was recently a study done between 14 and 15-year-old girls that were dieting, and the major factor in that dieting caused eating disorders in the majority of those girls. Girls that moderately diet are 5 times more likely to have an eating disorder. And when I say eating disorder, I don't just mean, they're anorexic or bulimic. They can turn into overeaters. There's been several cases, even people I know that, and I know 2 different girls. So I know a couple of people that, have struggled with their weight, and, it was forced on them as a kid to diet. Now they're overeaters. I love them all the same. I think they're beautiful. I don't know why I can say that about other people, but I can't say that about me, and I struggle with my own body image, but that's a whole nother story. So, anorexia and bulimia are not the only eating disorders. There is eating disorders of overeating. So, people aren't out here just getting skinny and stuff, but those people that do have anorexia, so many people die from anorexia or bulimia or any kind of eating disorder. It kills so many people per year. Like, I forgot the exact number, but I'm fixing to look it up and find out the exact number. Yes, I am, because it was a lot. It was a lot. So, guys, if you're on, please say hey, engage. Let me know you're here. I can see that there's viewers, but I can't see who it is, and that's going to drive me insane, if I may say so myself. All right, let's see. There we go. So, anyway, let me get back to what I was saying. I'm losing my train of thought. Anyway, so girls that moderately diet are 5 times more likely to develop an eating disorder. And I have notes that I'm looking at because, I can't remember everything. But those that are dieting that have extreme food restrictions are 18 times more likely to develop an eating disorder. 18 times. I mean, that is a huge amount of people. How do we feel about that many people having eating disorders? Are we okay with that? Because I'm not. I'm not okay with that many people having eating disorders. I'm not okay with, people dying over not being able to eat. It drives me crazy. So let's get into these five reasons. And these are just the simple reasons. Not that it causes eating disorders, not that it causes deaths. I'm mentioning that, but I believe that first of all, I believe that when you put your child on a diet, you're taking their freedom, their rights, and all that from them. Like, it's their body, it's their mouth. And okay, so there's something I was going to say. Well, are you going to give me the actual number or not? Okay, well. Wow. Approximately 7 out of 10 women and girls have body issues and diet. Wow. So anyway, I'm going to stop looking at that because that's depressing me, and I'm not seeing the number I wanted to see, like trying to find, and I'm not going to take up your time because your time is valuable. But I will post it in the comments as soon as I find what I was that article I was reading earlier that said exactly how many deaths happen each year from eating disorders. Alright, so I have 5 reasons why I don't believe that you should put children's eating habits under a microscope. And it's because it can cause a toxic, first of all, it can cause a toxic relationship with food. 2, you are taking away their free choices over their bodies. It's their bodies. They should decide when they can eat and what they can eat and blah, blah, blah. Do you know that young children and babies have the best eating habits ever? It's us. It's the parents. It's the adults that force our views, our values of food, the way we eat onto our children. Because babies and young children only eat when they're hungry. That's it. So any other time that there's like an overeating coming from a baby, and trust me, there is overfeeding babies happening all the time, because someone believes that because their first kid ate every 2 hours, their second kid needs to, and that's not how it works. They know when they're hungry. So forcing them to eat, or forcing them to eat the way you want them to eat, or on the schedule you want them to eat on, that is an issue. That's you forcing your food values onto your children. But children and babies actually only eat when they're hungry, up until they learn our values of food. And if we start from a young age of teaching our children and I wish I would have done this younger, way, way earlier in life for my daughter too, taught her more. Now, don't get me wrong, my daughter eats a lot of vegetables. Matter of fact, she eats way more than I could ever possibly even pretend to like. There's maybe 3 that I eat, and there's maybe 2 she won't. So, even though I don't eat them, I cook them because I wanted her to have a wide variety of vegetables she liked, a wide variety of fruits she liked. So from the time she was starting to eat at 6 and 9 months old and stuff, where she was really getting into like the solid foods and stuff, I started introducing every vegetable you could think of. She likes pretty much everything cooked or raw. So I did what I could, but unlike how it is now, to where everybody's just constantly educating on food. This is good for that. This cures cancer. This fights cancer. This helps fight this. This helps fight that. It wasn't like that back then. It is now. I should have did more research on my own, but I didn't. Life goes on. But I wish I would have taught my daughter from the very beginning, which we don't really keep sweets in the house because I don't eat sweets. I think my daughter was 2 years old the first time she ever even took a bite out of a donut. And that was someone else gave it to her. I was not happy about it, matter of fact. But anyway, get back to the point. I truly 100 believe that if you are having kids while they are young and they're learning about food and they're starting to learn to eat solid food, that is the time to start teaching your kid good foods, bad foods, balanced portions. That is the time to do it. All food is good. All food has nutritional values for the most part. I'm not saying candy has nutritional values, but all food for the most part has nutritional values. And it's okay for a kid to eat a cake sometimes, or for a kid to eat some ice cream sometimes. Totally restricting their diet just causes problems later. And any parent knows that the more you try to withhold something from a child, it just makes them want it more. There's going to be a time that you can't control what they eat anymore. And that's when the overeating tends to happen. That is where it becomes an issue. When you so strictly restrict their food that you won't even let them have a piece of cake at a birthday party or a scoop of ice cream every now and then, they eventually start binge eating. And nobody wants that for a child. We want them to have healthy, happy relationships with food. So they need to learn about why food is good for you, what foods are good for you. So, I don't know if I know how to count. Oh. Alright, so number 3, we are teaching them that they can't be held to their own devices to make healthy food choices. So, you're teaching your child that not only can they not make the good decisions, and informed decisions, but that you don't trust them to make them. And that's wrong. They should be able to choose their foods. Because as I said, it's not until we start adding in our food schedules, our food health, that it becomes an issue. Because they only eat what they want when they're hungry. Because that's how they're made. That's how we're all wired until we learn different. We're all wired to just eat when our body tells us we are supposed to eat because we're hungry. And they should be able to choose their own food as long as you, the parent, offers them the education about food and nutrition and good and bad balance. I'm not saying go out there and let them drink 20 pounds of sugar because that's horrible. But they need to know that sugars are fine as long as they are in balance with how much good food they're eating. It needs to outweigh. Their good needs to outweigh their bad, like the sugar intakes. Which I don't even use the word bad food in front of my daughter. I'm just like, that's something we need less of because sugar is not something we need to be hyped up all the time. I'm careful with the way I word things. I'm careful with the way I say things because when you go saying sugar's bad, the younger kids are going to get a little scared. The older kids are going to be like, yeah, you're crazy because I had sugar and it was great. So just be careful with what you're teaching them about body image. Because body image, why is it so important? Are you telling me that the thicker, bigger girls aren't cute? They are. You don't have to be a size 0 to be attractive. Matter of fact, not everybody finds that attractive. So, just be careful. Also, number 4, we are also sending a loud, this is why I don't like it. This is what I'm so passionate about. This is what makes me so angry. This is it right here. This is the one. We are sending a loud and clear message to these children when we try to put them on diets and restrict their foods that their bodies are not good enough, that they need to fix it. And I'm not okay with that. Like, that irks me. Why? How dare you tell a child that their bodies aren't good enough, that they need to fix their bodies, that the things that they are in, their bodies, that they were born with, that they were given, that God gave them, that the universe gave them, whoever you believe in gave them, is not good enough, and that it needs to be fixed. Now you are playing on their psyche. You are messing with their heads when you go to telling them they're not good enough and that they need to be fixed. So, nothing irks me more than to think about what goes through a child's head the second you tell them that their body's not good enough, that they need to fix their bodies because you have a problem with it, or another adult, like a doctor, has a problem with it. All bodies were not built the same. And if you don't believe me, please feel free to go Google skinny fat. Some people can eat and eat and eat and eat, and they can live off of donuts and high sugared coffees and never gain a pound. And then some people can eat the most healthy diet and look at a donut and gain 30 pounds. You know, our bodies are just not the same, and children's definitely aren't. They're growing, they're developing, their minds are growing and developing like sponges. And you're actually going to go out there and tell them that you're going to start making their food decisions, all of them, that you don't trust them to make the good ones. And if you don't trust your kids to make good decisions, it's because you didn't teach them to. Just know that if you have to control it because they're not making good decisions, that's your fault, because you didn't teach them to make better choices. You didn't teach them the value of food. There are very few young children as young as 8 that make bad choices on purpose. They just go out there and say, oh, this is a bad choice, let me do it. You might have a few 8-year-olds that are having some mental health issues that do that. But the average 8-year-old does not make bad decisions on purpose. So if they're making them, it's because you didn't inform them of a better way, or because you made them feel bad about themselves, about their bodies, and everything else, which is something that it shouldn't happen from a parent. A parent should not make their child feel bad about their weight, their body, because there's nothing wrong with that child. You know, I believe in educating them. I believe in keeping them healthy. I believe in teaching them. Hey, Wajia, how are you? I believe in teaching them the value of food, and I believe that if you teach them the value of food, and you teach them that this food can help with this food can help with that, this food, like carrots, is a great inflammation, or anti-inflammatory, I mean. It's a great anti-inflammatory, so it's amazing for inflammation, so it's great for your knees and back pain and stuff like that that's caused by inflammation. It's amazing for that. Teach your kids that. Kale apparently has cancer-fighting properties. Teach them that. Because I tell you, when we go to talking about cancer-fighting properties in my house, since my brother has brain cancer and my daughter sees it every single day, then that's something she wants to eat. And kale ain't never tasted delicious in my opinion. So, you know, I hope that maybe this has enlightened a few people. I'm sure this is going to make a few people very angry because, well, it's a controversial topic right now. I don't usually like to bring those up, but if it means that I can protect a child in any way, shape, or form, I'm going to bring it up because I'm all about trying to help children. Awesome. So, anyway, I hope this helped. I hope y'all guys learned something, got something out of this. And I have a few more tips on what foods help in what ways, like with inflammation, what foods are good for you and why. It can explain the reasons. Like, I got some really good ones on knee pain. And if you want to find out what foods are really good to take away knee pain, then shoot me a message. I will tell you what they are and why they are the right foods to choose to take away your knee pain. Because food is your friend. There is nothing bad about food, and there is no reason that, we need to teach our children that food is bad. We don't want to put that in their head right now. They are too young. We don't want them to have a toxic relationship with food. So, if you would like those 5 foods that are good for inflammation and will help out with any kind of anti-inflammatory issue or inflammation issues that you need, even an anti-inflammatory food that you take is also good for your skin, like inflammation on your faces, helps with the puffy bags. No woman likes that. So, shoot me a message. I will happily shoot those over to you. And I hope y'all have a fabulous night and happy Wednesday. Love you all.